So I'd like to, in a second, welcome Ulrika Brunner. Ulrika believes that one of the biggest impacts on our health, happiness, and well-being is when we spend 10,000 days of our lives at work. And the biggest influence on that experience, the learning and leadership we experience. So Ulrika has over 23 years experience across Asia and a variety of industries, including learning, development, training, world-class accreditation in financial services, trading, and is currently the CEO of Inspire Group Asia, a great name for a business if we do think so. So for now, I would love to welcome Ulrika to the Inspirathon. Hello, Ulrika.
Hi there, Matt. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I've resisted my first Red Bull, so now it's 1:45 in the UK. So I pulled graveyard duty, and I'm really excited to have you as part of the Inspirathon.
Matt, thank you so much for having me on board. I think you and the team have done an amazing job pulling this together. So I'm really looking forward to spending this time with you. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to get out of your way now. I'm going to move off the stage and leave you to take us through your talk. So thank you very much.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Matt. And thank you also to your team for making this possible. So good morning from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And just following in Daniel's footsteps, just to recognize, what a crazy year it's been, right? And how are we going to be thriving as leaders in this time of recovery? Now, when I say leaders, I don't just mean bosses or people that are in charge of teams, etc., but all of us, because we all influence people around us. So even if you are not currently working, you do have like a leadership role with the people at home, with the people that surround you, with your family even. And we also recognize that this is not just about working from home. Now, some of you may be in countries where you have more lax rules, etc., but many of us are still under lockdown. When you're at home in a crisis, trying to get work done. And this is not the same as working from home, where previously you may have taken a day or two to stay at home to be able to focus on a particular project. And many of us are leading others at the same time. So just want to recognize how difficult this has been for us, for many of us during this past year, and to be kind to yourself. And to give yourself a break and allow yourself to have that moment for yourself as well. I learned this the hard way at the beginning of the pandemic, because I got stuck in Scotland for 4 months with my 2 children, and my husband was alone in our apartment here in Kuala Lumpur, unable to leave the house for 3 months. And I'm also responsible for our Asia operations. So being in the UK, I was having to get up. I was doing what Matt is doing now, pulling all-nighters, like getting up in the middle of the night to be able to run workshops and meetings with our client base on the other side of the world. So there were a lot of ups and downs, and I can tell you there were several days there when, I was not the happiest I've ever been. And a little bit about me. So my name is Ulrika, and I've explored uncharted territories all my life. I'm originally Swedish. I grew up in Portugal. I've lived in Scotland, Vietnam, China, Thailand, and the last 14 years in Malaysia. I'm fortunate to have lived and worked in 6 out of the 7 continents, and it's just Antarctica to go. So let's see where I end up. Now, at Inspire Group, I'm part of a wave of innovation that New Zealand is known for. And I'm in charge of introducing a fresh approach to learning in Asia, because we believe that better learning is life-changing. And for 20 years, the Inspire Group has been at the forefront of learning solutions, and we work in a very agile manner. We've always done so. We adapt quickly, and I mean really quickly. So at the beginning of the pandemic, when I was saying I was in Scotland, in just 2 weeks, our team back in New Zealand managed to adapt all our workshops to virtual delivery. So it was great, because there was, the sort of dipping point there didn't last for very long. So, and the speed and thoughtfulness of which businesses respond to a crisis will determine their future. So I'm sure many of you will have seen this play out, and those of us who are agile and embrace the changes will of course do better than those that take longer. And the Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella last year, she noted that, just in terms of digital transformation, we've seen 2 years worth done in just 2 months. And I think we've all seen this play out in different ways in the different spaces that we work and live in. And McKinsey found, of course, the average lifespan of companies, in 1958 was 61 years. Today, it's less than 18 years. And by 2027, 75% of the companies currently on the Fortune 500 will have disappeared. I'm sure many of you have heard this. So what's going on? What is keeping these business leaders up at night? Where are they looking at? Well, apparently it's mostly people problems. So what's going on with their staff? Where are they at? And with our ear to the ground, this following statement from Harvard Business Review really envisions, how we are looking at this. So that we spend time to envision our future and look at a strategy to work back your future. Be prepared to learn and pivot and rally your team around your vision. Of course, you need to have the buy-in because you can't do this alone. This is a great report that I also want to share with you, the low-touch economy. So you can look that up from the Board of Innovation. And the low-touch economy is here to stay. I think many of you are living this reality. We're not going to go back to exactly where we were in 2019. The rules will be swinging up and down. Here in KL, we're back to full lockdown now because the new COVID numbers have been rising steadily. And the new normal will not be easy. I'm certainly feeling the pressure. I was so enjoying having some degree of freedom, being able to meet people face to face. So it's tough being locked up again. Some of these new habits will stick, but we should expect aftershocks. So again, keeping that open mind, growth mindset, let's not be complacent and think that the normal is here. And why does that even matter? How are we handling this? How are you feeling? How are we feeling? Well, think about how that the biggest impact on health and happiness is the quality of your relationships. So how are you interacting with the people around us? How are your relationships? Now, this one is on that, Matt mentioned about the fact, we spend 10,000 days of our lives at work. So imagine that this person that you report to at work is more important for your health than your family doctor, according to the Mayo Clinic in the States. Now, if I can ask you to take a moment, I can't see you, but if you indulge me, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and think about the worst leader or manager that you've experienced in your life and how they made you feel. Can you see that person? I can. Now, keep your eyes closed, take another deep breath, and think about the best leader or role model that you've had in your life. Just take a moment and just see that person. So I can't help but smile. Now, okay, you can open your eyes. I hope you took a moment to do that. Recognize the strong feelings that those two people evoked for you. Imagine the effect that you can have on the people that you work with. Now, we don't have to make anyone else's life more challenging than it already is, do we? The Microsoft Chief People Officer, Kathleen Hogan, she emphasized the urgency to focus on employee well-being now. She said, COVID-19 continues to upend our lives. It's never been more vital to understand how we can empower employees to prioritize well-being, both at work and at home. And this is the kind of mindset that's going to matter. How are you showing up for those people around you? Now, I know that I have some friends that are on here today listening, and a few of them asked me about this, and they asked, how can we make the workplace a place where everybody can come close to each other without boundaries, so they're not being defensive, where everyone isn't afraid to speak up and share ideas. Now, I've lived in Asia for 24 years, and I get told, oh, this is the Asian workplace culture, keeping distance and all of that. And I don't agree, because this is something that we create and tolerate. I've seen so many workplaces, especially in the past year in this region, where there is trust and even love. You can make it happen. We can make it happen. I say, start by creating the environment that you want to be part of. If you just start with the few people you engage directly with and focus on the quality of the conversations that you are having by being really present, that's a great start. And the key to this is, of course, to be authentic. Do you really care for them? Check yourself. You can't force this. We can't fake it. We know if somebody really cares about us or not. This can never be about me being right and somebody else being wrong. And the change of this behavior takes time. Of course, there are no quick fixes when trust has broken down or when trust has never existed. We can't change others, but we can choose how we show up and how we impact the people around us. If we can have an attitude of being of service and making a difference, wouldn't that make a wonderful place to be? So maybe take a moment to just think, how can that be something that you focus on for the rest of your day to day as you go about your business and your work. Now, coming back to how we are looking at learning and what's going on. Of course, most companies are looking at changing their L&D strategies over the past year. And over half in this Fosway Group report, they recognized that the digital learning was not up to standard and was immature. And of course, the demand for digital learning has increased considerably. This, of course, impacts also how we put together learning solutions. And learning and leadership, it's really complex, right? I mean, especially leadership. If you Google this up, you get over 32 million results. So it must be really complicated. And we need to consider so many different factors, right? Different generations and how people have evolved, changing the way of work. But my challenge to you is, if we can just try to keep it simple by being kind to ourselves and to others, maybe if we can go back to just what is the one thing I can do so that everything else will be easier or unnecessary. So here's this is a book recommendation. If you're interested, the one thing. I try to do this often, at least once a day, where I think about, okay, what's the one thing that could make things easier or some things unnecessary? It has definitely helped me in the past year where, you have these dips and I feel overwhelmed, not really sure where to start and having to rethink how we do our business, etc. This has helped me to focus. So I hope that's a good tip for you. And of course, it's simple until I make it complicated. This is how we work at Inspire Group. This is another great book that may help during these challenging times. And for me personally, it means that I feel that I can make a difference if I take just one step at a time. If it's simple until we make it complicated. At the start of the year, now we're working with many organizations on how to implement their strategies and business plans effectively. And we start this off by agreeing with the clients, getting them to agree amongst themselves, what's the one thing that has the greatest impact now? Instead of working in silos or each department worrying about their space, how can we bring teams together to actually focus on what will have the biggest impact today. And then, of course, once you started doing that, you have a format and you can start on the next challenge. Here's another tool for you. And if you can think about asking yourself and your teams this question, take this away with you. If you didn't worry about failing, what would you try? What could be possible? And that's a little gift for you, maybe to, when you have those conversations with the people around you, just throw that out there. It's interesting what ideas come up. So for us, what do we, what is the new normal for learning? And if you can think about what did you last learn and how, and how was that different from school? When you're learning from in your day-to-day today, when you're choosing to dip into a subject that you're curious about, how do you go about that, and how is that different from when you were at school? Obviously, the context matters. What difference will it make? Keep it real, so don't overcomplicate. Listen to the people around you, right? What do you need right now? And having a growth mindset to foster that mindset, and be open to continuous learning, and think about the outcome that you want to see together, right, with the people around you, whether it's at home or at work. And inspired by our New Zealand roots, we of course think this is an amazing way to show a masterclass in crisis leadership, how Jacinta handled this pandemic from day one. She straight away was very clear in direction giving, so everybody knew, like, what is it that I need to do? And of course, making meaning, where how is this going to impact me? What does my new day to day look like? What do I need to do? And of course, the empathy part, which we heard the previous speaker speak about as well, that we see you, we hear you, and we're all in this together. And the empathy part, I think many of us are seeing this play out more and more in our workplaces as well. So we need to focus on what we need right now, right? When we're looking at learning solutions, etc., and how do we best consume it? If you think about when you want to learn a new recipe, for example, you're going to YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, maybe even reaching out to your friends and family, asking your mom for that favorite recipe, and what this looks like in the world where we work is that I want to have it contextualized. I want to have it at my fingertips. I want it to be fully responsive, and one solution doesn't fit all. This is an example of what we use to support our workshops, and we don't believe also that this is a complete end to face-to-face interactions. I think gradually we'll be getting back to being together, although I don't think we'll ever be sitting this close to each other again. But so it's a bit of an out of date, this picture. But of course, I think there will be a blended approach with some face-to-face, some virtual, like the session we're in now, maybe a bit more interactive. I'd love to see you guys, but and also some of the online learning content, and maybe gamifying like we did here in this module, and contextualizing it in emotion graphics, so you're engaging, really focusing on the learner's experience and what's going on for them, and clear visuals. How are you? Just think about how you're communicating internally. You may not have a graphic designer, but how can your messages become cleaner, clearer, and more engaging? This one, this is for an onboarding, for example, and I can see clearly if I'm in starting my induction journey, steps 1 to 6, what is going to be happening, and I can follow that. Having some interactive solutions, making it beautiful as well. Even for this one, for example, this is talking about quite a dry subject, like treating wastewater with strict SOPs. So we incorporate humor, and so I as a learner, I want to complete the module, and it doesn't get boring. Another way is also to incorporate personas. I can put myself in Jack's shoes here and follow what he's doing in the day-to-day. So I know that when I'm hitting the job tomorrow, then I know what to do for New Zealand Post. So what are we trying to do? So we believe in a combination, right, of digital and analog learning. But we need to just like Jacinta Ardern, we need to provide direction. We need to spark the conversation with the people around us. And these are three simple things that we can all do. Take a moment and foster also that collaboration. Think, engage, and inspire. For me, this is what keeps me going in the past year. Regular check-ins with my team and clients. We have water cooler moments every day. Reach out, really get to know them on a personal level. I'm sure many of you are doing this already, and you don't need to talk about this, about work all the time, right? So try to make those moments more casual. And you support yourself and you help others at the same time. But above all, what got us here won't get us there. Be ready, keep an open mind, and to be able to pivot. Listen to the people around you. What can we do to support them? It's tough, but let's lead ourselves so that we can lead others and make a positive impact in what we do. And we have a real opportunity to rethink how we can make a difference. Start with just one thing, keep it simple. So I leave you with a question. If you weren't afraid of failing, what would you try right now, today? Thank you for being here, and I'd love to see you more, or I'd love to see you at all. Please connect with me on LinkedIn, and let's take it from there. So thank you so much all for your time today. Stay well, stay safe. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you very much, Ulrika. What would I do if I wasn't afraid of failing? I'm not sure. I'm probably doing doing this the product of our environment, of our times, as I probably will mention many times between now and I go to bed, then back on for North America.
Oh gosh, yes.
We honestly won't have. It'll be 3 years between our last conference and our next one. Our last one was in 2019 in New York, and we were supposed to have one last year. And we decided, for the mental health of our team, because you're talking about you going back into lockdown now, and I'm sorry that you are, because we know what that's like. But the constant we were talking about traits of a good leader is to give people control. When you keep pushing dates back and you think you're near the end, so we just said we're not going to do any events till 2022, because the best case scenario is maybe end of 21. So yeah, it'll be 3 years. So I probably wouldn't be doing this I probably would do this if I was scared of failing. But thank you so much, and I thought I was well travelled, but wow. You have to let all of us know when you get to Antarctica.
I will.
There was so much to go through, really. But can you go back to the two things that what's keeping a CEO up at night?
Yes, absolutely. The overall focus is, of course, the people, the challenge with the people. So, it's making sure, am I hiring the right people? We all know this, right? And you don't need to be a CEO to be worrying about that. And am I being competitive? Can I retain the best talents for what I need right now? And of course, the performance and productivity. We talk a lot about this. How can I provide an environment where my team are as productive as they can be, while they're spending these 10,000 days at work? How can I create that environment, especially now, this last year? It's tough, to keep the energy levels up, keep engaging, and it's so much more personal, right? Here we are in each other's houses. And I think it draws so much more energy than, okay, I'm in the office, I have 9 to 5 and I'm there and full on, and then I can go home and switch off. So I think the focus on employee performance and productivity was actually the highest one on that list.
Well, and as you're saying, we're invading each other's homes. That just breaks down those barriers instantly. That's the boss, or that's this person, or that's that person, or any preconceptions we have around people. You get to know people more, and then they could become braver about who they are, and hopefully those barriers are broken too. I couldn't believe the stat from the Mayo Clinic.
I know, right?
The person you report to at work is more important to your health than your doctor.
And of course, this is then, from the States, this is reflecting, people, of course, getting sick, but
Yeah.
also suicides, all these very serious issues that we see when people are struggling, right? So yeah, this is huge. And I think it's important for us to really take that on board. Like, I can make a difference. Even, I don't have to be the CEO, right? Even if I'm just I'm just part of a team.
Yes.
I'm not even the boss. I
Yeah.
can have a positive impact on just 1, 2, 3 people. So
Absolutely.
why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I'm just with everybody. I'm just eternally grateful for your time, your expertise, and your inspiration. So, is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up and start to go on to our next speaker, our last speaker, Australasia?
Matt, again, I just think what you're doing is absolutely fabulous. We all need the Inspirathon in our lives today, now. And so thank you for pulling this together, and thank you for having me on board. And just to all of you out there, just be kind to yourselves, be kind to the people around you. We're all in this together. And stay safe, stay well. Thank you very much.
You too, Ulrika. Stay safe and stay well. Speak to you soon.